Indie games have really stepped up over the years. Some of them hit just as hard, if not harder, than the big budget stuff. They're creative, they're unique, and they bring a lot of fresh ideas to the table. So if you've been meaning to dive into the indie side of gaming, this list has you covered. Here are 20 indie games that are basically a 10 out of 10 experience, and ones I think you absolutely need to try out. Hades. This game is a masterpiece, a total work of art, and it's so good it kind of ruins other games for you. It's not just a game you play, it's a world you get totally lost in. The whole thing is built around this idea of trying to escape the underworld, but you're not supposed to do it on the first try, or the second, or even the 10th, and that's what makes it so brilliant. You play as Zagreus, who's the son of Hades, and he's not very happy with his dad, so he wants to escape. Every time you try, you go through these different areas, and they change every time you play. You're fighting all these crazy monsters and bosses from Greek mythology. The fighting feels so fast and smooth. It's like a dance, a really intense hack and slash dance. You've got your main attack, a special move, a dash, and a magic attack, and you're just zooming around the screen, dodging stuff and hitting enemies. It never gets old. But the real genius of Hades is how it handles dying. In most games, if you die, it's a punishment. You get a game over screen and you have to start all over, and it feels bad. Not in Hades. When you die, you just go back to the House of Hades, which is your home base. And every time you go back, the characters have new things to say to you. They remember how you died, they talk about your last run, and the story keeps moving forward. You'll talk to your dad, Hades, who's a total grump, or your mentor, Achilles, or all the other cool gods and monsters who hang out there. The characters are all so well written and have so much personality. They're funny, they're sad, they're cool, they're just great to hang out with. And then there's the Greek gods. As you try to escape, gods like Zeus, Poseidon, and Athena will show up and give you boons. These are special powers that change how your character fights for that one run. You might get lightning bolts to shoot out of your sword, or maybe your dash will knock enemies away. There are so many different boons and different weapons to use that every single time you play, you can create a totally new and crazy build. It's like a puzzle you get to solve on the fly, and it's so much fun to figure out which powers work best together. The whole game is just perfect. The music is amazing, the art style is super cool and unique, and the story just keeps pulling you back in. You want to see what happens next, you want to learn more about the characters, and you want to finally beat your dad. Hades makes dying feel like part of the fun, and that's why it's a perfect 10 out of 10. It's an adventure you never want to end.
Yeah, not finished.
Hollow Knight. This one is a special kind of perfect. It's a game that just pulls you in and doesn't let go, like ever. It's got a super simple idea at first. You're this tiny bug-like knight, and you go into this ruined bug kingdom underground. But the world, man? The world is so much bigger and more complex than you'd ever guess. The first thing that hits you about Hollow Knight is the art and the atmosphere. It's all hand-drawn, and it's beautiful, but also really sad and kind of haunting. Everything is in these dark colors, and the sound design is perfect. You can hear the dripping water, the echoes in the caves, the sad music that plays in the background. It makes you feel so tiny and alone in this huge forgotten place. You're exploring this kingdom called Hollow Nest, and it's clear that something went really, really wrong here. The bugs that live there are all kind of crazy or just plain dead, and you have to figure out what happened. The game doesn't hold your hand at all. It just drops you into this world and says, go. There's no map at the start, no glowing arrows telling you where to go. You have to find a map maker and buy a map from him, and even then you have to find a bench to sit on to fill in the map as you explore. It's all about discovery and being curious. You'll find new paths and secret areas everywhere, and it's the most rewarding feeling. You'll be in one area and see something you can't get to yet, and you'll remember it for later, and then hours later you'll get a new ability and go, oh, I know where that was. And the fighting is so good. You have this little nail, which is basically a sword, and you use it to hit all these crazy bug monsters. But it's not just button mashing. The combat is really tight and precise. You have to learn the patterns of the enemies and bosses. And the bosses, man, they're amazing. They're all huge and look so cool, and the fights are epic and super challenging. You'll probably die a bunch of times on a boss, but every time you go back, you feel like you're getting a little bit better, a little bit closer to winning. But what makes Hollow Knight a 10 out of 10 is the feeling of wonder. You're always finding something new and exciting. A hidden village, a weird character with a funny personality, a new ability that lets you jump higher or dash through the air. The world is huge, and you never feel like you're just grinding. You're always moving forward and learning more about this mysterious, sad world. It's a huge adventure that feels so personal and so well made, and it's a game you'll be thinking about long after you finish it. Celeste. Okay, now for Celeste. This game, man, it's so much more than what it looks like on the outside. You see this pixel art platformer and you might think, oh, it's just a game about jumping. But it's so much more than that. It's one of those rare games that tells a really important story while also being a total blast to play. You play as a girl named Madeline, and she's trying to climb this big, mysterious mountain called Celeste. But the mountain is more than just a mountain. It's also kind of a character itself, and it's a big part of the story. See, Madeline is dealing with some stuff in her life, like anxiety and a bunch of other inner demons, and climbing this mountain is her way of facing all that. As you go higher up the mountain, you meet different characters and you see these reflections of yourself, and it's all part of this super deep and touching story about self-discovery and never giving up. Now for the gameplay, it's perfect. The controls are so simple, you just jump and you have this air dash that you can use one time before you have to land again. It sounds basic, but the way the game designs its levels is genius. Every single screen is like a puzzle. You have to figure out how to use your jump and your dash and your wall climbs to get from one side to the other without hitting any spikes or falling into a pit. You're gonna die a lot, like hundreds or even thousands of times, but it never feels bad. The game is so quick to reset you, it's instant. You die and you're right back at the start of the screen, and you're just like, okay, I got this. Every single death is a lesson, and when you finally make it through a really hard room, it's the most satisfying feeling in the world. And the music? Oh my gosh, the music is incredible. It's this mix of piano and synths that changes with the intensity of what's happening on the screen. It can be calming and beautiful one moment, and then fast and exciting the next. It perfectly matches the emotional journey that Madeline is on. The whole game is just a masterpiece, from the story and characters to the super tight gameplay and the amazing music. It's a game about facing your fears, and it teaches you that it's okay to fail, as long as you keep trying. That's why it's a perfect 10 out of 10. It's a game that will make you feel things, and also make you feel like a total gaming pro when you beat a really hard part. Undertale. The basic idea is that you're a human kid who falls into the underground, which is a place where all the monsters were banished after a war with humans. You have to find your way back to the surface, but here's the thing that makes it special. You don't have to fight anyone. In fact, the game pretty much encourages you not to. When you get into a fight with a monster, you have a few options. You can use a bullet hell style minigame to dodge their attacks, which is super cool and fun, but then you can choose to act and talk to the monster, or mercy and spare them. Every monster has a different personality and something you can do or say to them that will make them not want to fight anymore. You might have to flirt with a skeleton, or tell a ghost a joke, or just be kind. And the choices you make really matter. The game remembers everything you do. If you choose to kill a bunch of monsters, the story and the characters will change. Characters will remember what you did, and it can get really dark and sad. But if you play through the whole game without killing a single monster, you get a totally different experience, a beautiful and heartwarming story that makes you feel really good inside. It's like the game is watching you and judging your choices, but in a way that feels really personal. The characters are what make this game a true masterpiece. From the super funny and goofy skeletons, Papyrus and Sans, to the lovable and shy scientist, Alphys, every single character is written so well. They're hilarious and emotional, and you just want to hang out with them all the time. The dialogue is so good and so full of heart that you feel like you actually know these characters. Undertale is a game that challenges what it means to be a hero in a video game. It shows you that being kind can be just as strong as fighting, and that making friends is way more powerful than making enemies. It's a game with a huge, clever heart, and that's why it's a perfect 10 out of 10. It's an adventure that's all about empathy, and that's a rare and special thing. Cuphead. The first thing you've got to understand is the art. It's not just inspired by old cartoons, it literally is an old cartoon. The developers, Studio MDHR, went all in on this. They didn't just use a filter, they actually hand drew every single frame of animation on paper, then they inked it, and then they colored it digitally. It's the same exact process they used back in the 1930s. When you see a character jump or an enemy move, you're looking at a bunch of unique, hand-drawn pictures being shown one after another. This gives it that bouncy, wobbly, super weird movement that feels so alive and authentic. The backgrounds are all hand-painted watercolors, and they even added a film grain effect to make it look like you're watching it on an old projector. It's a level of dedication you just don't see in games, and it makes the whole thing feel like a playable work of art. But what good is a beautiful game if it's not fun to play, right? And this is where Cuphead truly shines. It's a run-and-gun game, which means you're basically running, jumping, and shooting non-stop. But the real heart of the game, like 90% of it, is the boss fights. And oh boy, are they tough. This game is famous for being incredibly, ridiculously hard. You will die, a lot, it's a fact. A boss can have like 3 or 4 different phases, and each one changes the whole fight. One minute you're shooting a giant flying onion, and then suddenly it's crying little tear bullets all over the screen. You have to learn the patterns of every single attack. It's not about luck, it's about practice and memorization. The brilliant part is that the game never feels unfair. When you die, which you will, it's not the game's fault, it's always your fault. You messed up a jump, or you didn't time your dash right, or you got greedy with your shots. The game gives you a little progress bar after each death so you can see how close you were to winning, and that's the thing that keeps you going. You're like, I was so close, I just need to get one more hit in. And that feeling of finally beating a boss you've been stuck on for hours is just pure victory. Your hands are sweating, your heart is pounding, and you're just screaming with excitement. It's an incredible feeling of accomplishment that not many games can give you. So you've got this insane art style that's a love letter to old cartoons, and you've got this super challenging but fair gameplay. The whole thing just works together perfectly. The characters, the weird, imaginative boss designs, the tight controls. It's a game that respects the player by giving them a real, honest challenge. And that's what makes Cuphead a perfect 10 out of 10. It's a game that shows you that passion and pure creativity can make something truly unforgettable. Disco Elysium. This game is something else. It's not like the other here at all. It's not about jumping or fighting or shooting. It's about talking and thinking. It's like a book you can play, but way cooler and more interactive. It's a game for people who love to read and get lost in a story, and it does that better than almost any other game ever made. You play as a detective who wakes up with a terrible hangover, and, well, the thing is, you have no memory. Like, literally no memory of who you are, what you've done, or even where you are. Your name, your past, everything is gone. You're in this rundown city called Revachol, and you're supposed to be solving a murder. But first, you have to try and figure out who you are, which is a whole mystery in itself. The game is all about choices, and it lets you be whatever kind of detective you want. You can be a good cop, a bad cop, a total loser, a poet, a rock star. It's all up to you and how you decide to talk and act. The way you do all this is super unique. Instead of having skills like strength or intelligence, you have skills that are parts of your own mind. You have stuff like empathy, logic, visual calculus, and even inland empire, which is like your inner weirdness and imagination. Each of these skills is its own voice in your head, and they're always talking to you, giving you advice, arguing with each other, and sometimes just saying crazy things. It's like you're having a conversation with your own brain, and it's one of the coolest things about the game. So when you're talking to a person, your logic skill might pop up and tell you that what they're saying doesn't make sense. Or maybe your empathy skill will give you a feeling about what they're truly thinking. It's not just a bunch of text, it's a constant debate in your head, and you're the one who has to decide which voice to listen to. The game has no combat, which is wild for an RPG. All the fights happen through dialogue. You might get into a verbal showdown with a tough guy, and your success depends on how you've built your character and the dice rolls you get. And even failing a dice roll can lead to something interesting and surprising, which is so different from other games. The writing is another part that makes this game a 10 out of 10. It's some of the best writing in any game, ever. The dialogue is hilarious and sad and smart all at the same time. The world of Revachol is so detailed and full of weird and memorable characters. Every single person you talk to has a story and feels real. You'll spend hours just talking to people and learning about the world and your own messed up past. Disco Elysium is a game that makes you think, makes you laugh, and makes you feel things. It's a true masterpiece that proves a video game can be just as good as a great movie or a great book. It's all about the power of words, and that's what makes it so perfect. The Witness. The Witness is one of those games that's hard to talk about without spoilers, but not because of the story. It's hard to talk about because the real secrets aren't in what happens, they're in how the game teaches you things. This game is all about communication, but without a single word of spoken or written dialogue to help you. It's a super smart puzzle game that respects your brain so much, it basically just drops you on this beautiful, strange island and says, figure it out. So you wake up and you're all alone. The first thing you see is a puzzle panel, a grid with a line you have to draw. It's super simple. You draw the line from the start to the finish and the door opens. You walk through and find another puzzle, a little bit harder, and another one, and another. Every single puzzle is a variation of this one idea, drawing a line on a grid. You might think, how can a whole game be about that? But The Witness proves that this one idea is a universe of possibilities. As you explore the island, you find different areas, and each area has a new rule for the puzzles. For example, in one area, you'll have to separate black and white squares with your line. In another, you have to connect a bunch of dots. The amazing thing is that the game teaches you these new rules by making the puzzles themselves a lesson. The first few puzzles in an area are so simple that you can just guess the answer, and in doing so, you'll figure out what the new rule is. It's this incredible, subtle way of learning. You feel like a genius every time you crack the code for a new type of puzzle, and that feeling is what keeps you going. But the puzzles aren't just on panels. The real mind-blowing stuff comes later. The game trains you to see the world in a certain way. You start to notice patterns, lines, and shapes in the environment itself. A tree branch that looks like a puzzle line, a path that forms a certain shape on the ground. And when you finally realize that the whole island is a giant puzzle and that you can draw lines on the environment just like you do on the panels, it's a total game changer. It's one of those aha moments that makes your brain feel like it just leveled up. It's a moment of pure genius from the game's creator, and it shows you how to witness the world around you in a new way. The whole island is so colorful and beautiful, with these distinct areas like a desert, a jungle, and a town. It feels peaceful and lonely at the same time. There's no music, just the sounds of your footsteps, the wind, and the environment, which makes it feel so real and isolated. The Witness is a game that challenges your mind and makes you look at the world differently. It's a perfect 10 out of 10 because it's not just a game with puzzles, it's a game about the act of solving puzzles and the joy of learning. It's a journey of pure discovery, and you're the one who gets to figure it all out. Journey. You play as this robed figure, a mysterious little person in a desert world. Your goal is simple. You can see this big glowing mountain way off in the distance, and you just want to get to it. And that's it. You start your journey in the desert, surrounded by these huge sand dunes, and you're just walking, gliding, and flying through the air. The controls are so simple and feel so good. You can slide down the sand like it's snow and jump and float using your scarf, which gets longer and longer the more little glowing symbols you find. The whole game is just you moving forward, exploring, and soaking in the sights. And the sights are stunning. The art style is so minimalist, but also so beautiful and powerful. The colors are so vivid, and the way the light hits the sand and the clouds is just amazing. The landscapes change as you get closer to the mountain. You'll go from sunny deserts to snowy ruins to giant underground caves. Every new area is a whole new visual treat. But the real magic of Journey happens when you meet another player. The game connects you with one other person, randomly, who is also on their own journey. You can't talk to them or write messages. The only way you can communicate is by making this little musical chime. You'll use it to let the other person know you're there, to show them a secret path, or to just say hi. You'll travel together, helping each other out, and without a single word, you'll form this bond. You'll protect each other and stick together, and it just feels so good. And when you finally reach the top of the mountain, it's a huge emotional payoff.
Alex? Hey, still with us?
Oxenfree. Now, this game is a trip. It's not a scary game with jump scares, even though it's a supernatural thriller. It's more about that slow, creeping feeling of dread, like something is just wrong. It's a game that makes you feel like you're watching an old, classic teen horror movie, but you're also a character in it, and every choice you make changes things. It's a true masterpiece of storytelling and atmosphere. The whole thing is about a group of friends who go to this old military island for a party, but things go wrong, and they accidentally open a ghostly rift, and that's when the weird stuff starts happening. You play as Alex, a smart but kind of rebellious girl who just brought her new stepbrother Jonas along for the ride. The game is all about the relationships between these teenagers and how they deal with the terrifying things happening around them. The best thing about Oxenfree is how the dialogue works. It's not like other games where you talk to someone and then they stand still while you pick your answer. In Oxenfree, conversations are happening all the time, even while you're walking around the island. The dialogue options pop up over your head as little speech bubbles, and you have to choose what to say quickly, or you can even interrupt someone. It makes everything feel so real and natural, like you're actually having a conversation with people, not just clicking through a menu. And what you say and how you say it really, really matters. Your choices change how your friends feel about you, and those relationships can change the ending of the game. Another cool part of the gameplay is your handheld radio. This isn't just a gimmick. You use it to tune into these weird frequencies that let you talk to the ghosts that are haunting the island. You'll hear these creepy, garbled voices and strange signals, and you have to fiddle with the dial to get a clear signal. It's a simple idea, but it's used so well to build the atmosphere and also as a way to solve puzzles and uncover the island's dark past. The art style is also just great. It's a mix of 2D and 3D, and everything looks so mysterious and moody. The characters are small in the huge environments, which makes you feel even more isolated and alone. And the story, man, it gets so much deeper than just a bunch of ghosts. It gets into time loops and a sunken submarine and a whole bunch of stuff that you have to uncover by exploring and listening. It's a game that respects your intelligence. It doesn't give you all the answers. It makes you think and piece things together, and that's what makes it so rewarding.
Here, couldn't they have just made like a normal bridge?
Yeah, it's kind of neat.
Night in the Woods. Alright, let's talk about Night in the Woods. This one is really special. It's a game that looks like a cutesy cartoon with animal people, but it's got a huge, serious heart. It's about growing up, or maybe more accurately, about not growing up and what happens after you're supposed to. It's a game that just nails that feeling of being stuck in a small town with nowhere to go, and it's full of humor, sadness, and a little bit of mystery. You play as Mae Borowski, a cat who just dropped out of college and came back home to her tiny town, Possum Springs. All her old friends are still there, but things have changed. Her friends have jobs and stuff, and Mae is just kind of floating around, not sure what to do with her life. The whole game is about you just living Mae's life for a little while. You walk around the town, talk to people, hang out with your friends, and just soak in the feeling of the place. The dialogue is what makes this game a masterpiece. It's so well written and real. The conversations between Mae and her friends, Greg, Bea, and Angus, feel so authentic. They joke around, they talk about deep stuff, they argue. You get to know them so well, and you really feel like you're part of their group. And the game is so good at capturing all those little moments in life, like throwing a rock at a car, playing a video game on your bed, or just sitting on a porch with your friends. It's all so relatable and so full of charm. But it's not just a slice-of-life game. There's a mystery in the background. The town has a secret, and people are disappearing. As you get deeper into the game, you and your friends start to uncover what's really going on, and it gets really spooky. But the mystery isn't the main point of the game. It's more of a backdrop for the character's story. The game is really about mental health, feeling lost, and finding your place in the world. It deals with some serious topics in a way that feels honest and real, but never preachy. The art style is also so cool and unique. It's a bunch of flat, colorful shapes and designs that give the game a really distinct look. It makes the world feel like a painting. And the music is just perfect. It's a mix of a bunch of different styles, from upbeat to sad and moody, and it just fits every single moment so well. Night in the Woods is a perfect 10 out of 10, because it's a game that makes you think, makes you feel, and makes you remember what it was like to be a teenager trying to figure out where you fit in. It's a brilliant, beautiful, and deeply personal adventure. Firewatch. Firewatch is one of those games that you can't really explain to someone who hasn't played it. It's a game that's all about atmosphere and feeling and talking. It's not about action or big explosions. It's just a story, and a really good one. It's a game that makes you feel like you're in a movie or a book, and you just get to be there and live in it for a little while. You play as a guy named Henry, and he's got some stuff going on in his life that's not so great, so he decides to get away from it all and take a job as a fire lookout in a national forest in Wyoming. His job is to just sit in this tower all day, look for smoke, and make sure the woods are safe. His only contact with the outside world is this walkie-talkie, and the only person on the other end is his supervisor, a woman named Delilah. And this is where the game really shines. The entire game is basically just a conversation between you and Delilah over the radio. You'll be walking through the woods and you'll see something interesting, and you can pick up your radio and call her and talk about it. The dialogue is so well written and sounds so real. It's funny, it's sad, it's sarcastic, and it's all about you and Delilah getting to know each other, even though you never see her. You'll build this incredible, believable relationship with her just by talking. The way you choose to respond to her changes how she sees you, and that's a big part of the game. It feels like you're actually getting to know a real person, and that's a rare and special thing for a video game. But it's not just a walking and talking game. There's a mystery too. You start to find some weird things in the woods, and you get this feeling that someone is watching you. You'll find strange notes, a locked cave, and then things get really tense. The game does a great job of building up suspense and a feeling of paranoia. You're out in this huge, beautiful wilderness, all alone except for this voice on your radio, and you start to feel like you're being hunted. It keeps you on the edge of your seat, and you're just constantly wondering what's really going on.
Steep. How do you expect me to get down this?
I don't remember it being that bad. It's not even named on our topos.
Return of the Obra Dinn. Okay, Return of the Obra Dinn. This game is one of the most unique and genius games I've ever heard of, and it's a perfect 10 out of 10 for sure. It's not about fighting or exploring or anything like that. It's about being a detective, a super smart one, and solving a huge mystery. So, here's the deal. You're an insurance investigator in the 1800s, and this ship, the Obra Dinn, which was lost at sea for 5 years, just showed up in port with all its sails torn and no one on board. The game is to figure out what happened to all 60 people who were on the ship, and you have a special tool to help you. It's this pocket watch that, when you touch a corpse, lets you go back in time to the exact moment that person died. When you use the watch, the whole world turns into this black and white two-tone art style, like an old computer graphic. You're in a frozen moment, a freeze frame of a person's death. You can walk around the scene and look at all the details, you can hear the sounds and the last words of the people who were there. And your job is to use all of this information to figure out who everyone is and how they died. You have a book that has a manifest of all the crew and passengers with pictures of them. You have to fill in a little notebook, figuring out the name of each person and how they met their end. And this is where the genius comes in. The game doesn't just hand you the answers. You have to be a detective. You have to use clues. A person might say someone's name in their last moments, or you'll see a family portrait in a cabin and figure out who the people in it are. You'll see a guy who has a tattoo and notice that same tattoo on someone in a different death scene. You have to piece together all these different moments, like a giant puzzle. It's so rewarding when you figure out that the person who died here was the same person you saw in a different scene, and you finally figure out their name and how they were killed. The game just tells you when you get 3 people right in a row, which is so satisfying. The art style is another thing that makes it so cool. That black and white look, it's not just for looks, it's a throwback to those old computer games, and it makes it feel so unique and a little bit spooky. The sound design is also incredible. The voices and sounds in those freeze-frame moments are so clear and so well done. Return of the Obra Dinn is a perfect 10 out of 10 because it's a game that makes you feel so smart. It's a game that respects your brain and makes you work for the answers, and that feeling of solving a huge, crazy mystery is just one of the best things in gaming. Outer Wilds. This game is like a cosmic mindbender, and it's unlike anything else you'll ever play. It's an adventure game, but it's not about getting a better gun or a new sword. It's about knowledge. The game's whole idea is that the knowledge you gain is the only thing that really matters. It's a true masterpiece of exploration and discovery. So here's the deal. You're a little alien astronaut, and you're part of this group of explorers. You get into your rickety little spaceship and fly off into the solar system. The solar system is tiny, like it's just a few planets that all orbit one sun. The sun is about to go supernova, and you're stuck in a 22-minute time loop. Every 22 minutes, the sun blows up and you die, and then you wake up back at the beginning of the loop, right where you started. And you keep all of the information you learned. That's the whole game. There are no upgrades, no new ships. The only thing you take with you from one loop to the next is what you've learned. You have to figure out what's going on, why you're in a time loop, what happened to the ancient race that lived in the solar system before you, and how to stop the sun from exploding. It's this huge interconnected mystery, and all the clues are scattered across the different planets. For example, one planet is a giant ocean with crazy tornadoes that throw islands into space. Another one is made of sand, and it keeps getting smaller as the sand from a neighboring planet gets sucked into it. A third planet is a scary, dark place full of anglerfish that will eat you if you make a sound. You have to figure out how to navigate these places and find the information you need. You'll find old scrolls and messages from the ancient aliens, and they'll tell you about what they were doing and what they were looking for. All of these stories connect to each other. It's like a giant puzzle where every piece is a little bit of information. The feeling of discovery in this game is so good. You'll learn something on one planet, and then you'll realize it's the key to getting into a secret area on another planet. You're constantly having these aha moments. The game respects your intelligence and doesn't hold your hand at all. It just gives you this big mystery and says, go figure it out. And every time the sun explodes and you're sent back to the start, you feel a little smarter, a little closer to solving the big puzzle. The atmosphere is also incredible. The music is perfect, a mix of calm, beautiful banjo tunes and tense, dramatic orchestral scores. The visuals are stunning, and the little ship and the solar system just feel so real. Dead Cells. So Dead Cells is an absolute beast of a game. It's one of those rare titles that takes a bunch of different ideas and just slams them all together into something that's not only fun, but feels like it was designed by a team of geniuses. It's got that snappy, fast-paced action from classic games like Castlevania, but it's also got that super addictive progression and replayability of a roguelike game. You're constantly dying, but you're also constantly getting better. The first time you start playing, you immediately notice how good it feels to just move. You're this thing, this headless guy or a hero who's a whole bunch of cells, and you can just roll, jump, and slash your way through these huge, sprawling levels with so much speed and grace. The controls are so tight and so responsive, it's just pure fluid motion. The game even encourages you to play fast by giving you little speed boosts if you kill a bunch of enemies quickly, which just pushes you to be super aggressive and tear through the levels. And the combat itself is just incredible. You can carry 2 weapons and 2 skills at a time, and there are just tons of different options to find. You can have a sword that freezes enemies, a shield that lets you parry attacks for a huge counter, a bow that shoots a bunch of arrows at once, and all sorts of crazy grenades and traps. The whole game is a lesson in figuring out a build that works for you. You can focus on pure melee damage, or you can go for a bunch of traps and ranged attacks, or you can mix and match to find some crazy combo. Every single run feels totally different because of the variety of loot you find. You have to be smart and adapt to what the game gives you on the fly. Now, because it's a roguelike, when you die, you lose almost everything. And trust me, you are going to die. A lot. But that's where the genius of Dead Cells really shines. The levels are different every single time you play. The layout, the enemies, the items, it's all procedurally generated, so you're always on your toes. The game also has a permanent progression system. You'll collect these things called cells from enemies, and you can use those to permanently unlock new weapons, new skills, and even new health potions. You also find these things called runes, which give you new abilities, like a double jump or a vine whip that can get you to new areas in future runs. So even when you have a terrible run and die, you feel like you've accomplished something and you're a little bit stronger for the next one. The art style is also a huge part of its appeal. The pixel art is just fantastic with these beautiful colors and amazing animations. The characters and enemies have so much personality, even with just a few pixels. The world itself is a mystery you piece together by finding these little bits of lore in the environment. Dead Cells is a perfect 10 out of 10 because it perfectly blends fast, furious action with smart, thoughtful design, and it's so much fun to play that you'll just keep coming back for one more run, and then one more, and then one more.
When you're traveling, do you follow the itinerary or are you more spontaneous?
Road 96. Road 96 is a game that is just brimming with heart and so many great ideas. It's a completely different kind of adventure because it's not really a single story. It's more like a series of interconnected road trip chapters. You're not playing just one character's journey. Instead, you're playing as a bunch of different teenagers, one after the other, all with the same goal, to get across the country and escape to the border. The real story isn't about any one character, but about the bigger picture of what's happening in the country of Petria. Every time you start a new journey, you are dropped onto the road as a new teenager, and you have to start a new hitchhiking trip. You never know who you are going to meet. It could be a kind-hearted but shady truck driver, two goofy and wild criminals who love a good time, or even a determined and sometimes mean TV news anchor. The game is made up of these episodes, and they are all shuffled up and served to you in a random order. So you might meet one character early in your first trip and then not see them again until your third. This makes every single playthrough feel incredibly unique. You can't predict anything, and you always have to be ready for whatever the road throws at you. The gameplay is all about choices. At the start of each section, you have a certain amount of money, stamina, and health. How you get across the country depends on what you choose to do. You can spend your money to take a bus or a taxi, or you can try to get a free ride by hitchhiking. You can even steal a car if you're feeling brave. The choices you make in your conversations with other characters matter too. You can choose to be kind and helpful, or you can be a jerk. Your actions can change the hearts and minds of the people you meet, and those choices can have a huge impact on their lives and even on the entire country. The game also tracks your political leaning, which can shift depending on whether you choose to support the rebellion or the government. The game also does a great job of showing you that the world is bigger than just your own journey. You'll find news articles and snippets of radio shows that tell you about the big picture and the political unrest. You'll meet characters who are all connected in some way, and you'll slowly start to piece together the bigger story. The whole game is like a big puzzle, and all the pieces are these little road trip adventures.
Hey, wake up! Come hang out with me.
Limbo. This game is a classic, a true milestone in indie gaming. It came out a long time ago, but it's still just as cool and unsettling as it was on day one. It proves that you don't need fancy graphics or a big budget story to make an unforgettable game. All you need is a great idea and a really strong atmosphere. The first thing that grabs you about Limbo is how it looks. The whole thing is in black and white, and it looks like a spooky, old-timey movie. Everything is made up of these dark silhouettes, from the trees to the giant spiders to the main character, a little boy. There's almost no color, and the whole world feels eerie and empty. The sound design is a huge part of this, too. There's hardly any music, just the sounds of your footsteps, the wind, and the horrifying noises of the creatures in the shadows. It creates this feeling of being totally alone and defenseless in a hostile world. The gameplay is a mix of platforming and clever puzzles. You're just a little boy in this creepy place, and you're trying to find your sister. To do that, you have to push boxes, pull levers, and figure out how to get past all the crazy obstacles in your way. The puzzles are smart and often based on physics, so you have to think about how to make things fall or move. But the game is also really, really dark. You'll be walking along and then a giant spider will stab you, or a huge saw blade will slice you in half. The boy dies in these sudden, brutal ways, which sounds kinda messed up, but it's part of the game's design. The game knows you're going to fail a bunch of times, so it's built around trial and error. You'll die, but you'll get a little bit smarter, and then you'll finally figure out the solution. What makes Limbo a perfect 10 is how it tells a story without any words at all. There's no dialogue, no text, no explanation. You're just a boy in this weird world, and you're trying to find your sister. Everything you learn about the world and the characters in it is through what you see. It lets you figure things out for yourself and come up with your own ideas about what's going on. This makes the whole experience feel so much more personal and so much more mysterious. It's a short game, but every single moment feels purposeful and a little bit terrifying. It's a powerful and beautiful experience that stays with you long after you finished it. Hotline Miami. Here we go. Time for Hotline Miami. This is a special kind of game, a total classic for a reason. It's not just a game you play, it's a full-on experience that just grabs you and doesn't let go. It's got a super simple idea, but it's executed so well that it becomes a masterpiece of style and brutal, fast-paced action. The first thing you have to understand is that Hotline Miami is a top-down, hyper-violent puzzle game. You play as this guy who gets these mysterious messages on his answering machine telling him to go to a location and kill everyone inside. You walk into a building and it's a huge mess of enemies, guns, and knives. The gameplay is about being a one-man army. You can throw open a door to knock a guy out, steal his baseball bat, and then smash your way through the rest of the room. The action is so fast and so unforgiving. One hit and you're dead. This means you are gonna die a lot, but it never feels bad. You just hit the restart button and you're right back at the beginning of the level, ready to try again. It's a game of trial and error, a violent puzzle where you have to figure out the right way to take everyone out. The whole game just oozes with a weird 1980s aesthetic. The pixel art is all washed in these bright neon colors, and everything has this cool, gritty film grain look to it. It's all very stylish and retro, but also kinda unsettling. You can choose different animal masks to wear before each level, and these masks give you special abilities, like having faster speed or starting with a certain weapon. These masks, along with the cryptic phone calls, give the game a super mysterious and dreamlike feeling. You don't really know who you are or why you're doing what you're doing. And the music. The soundtrack to this game is just legendary. It's this mix of pulsing synthwave, electronic beats, and dark ambient tracks that perfectly fits the bloody non-stop action. The music just gets you into a zone, a total flow state, where you're not even thinking, you're just reacting. The beat of the music matches the rhythm of the action, and you'll find yourself just clearing rooms in a smooth, deadly dance. The music and the visuals work together perfectly to create a mood that's both exhilarating and kinda terrifying. Underneath all the violence and style, there's a super deep and confusing story. The game doesn't just hand you the answers, it's got these weird, surreal dream sequences, and you start to question if what you're doing is even real. The game slowly peels back the layers of its own story, and it makes you feel like you're going a little bit insane right along with the main character. Hotline Miami is a perfect 10 out of 10 because it's a game that's not afraid to be unique. It's got this incredible fast-paced gameplay, a stunning atmosphere, a killer soundtrack, and a mind-bending story that will make you think about it long after you've stopped playing. Gris. This game is something else entirely. It's a game you don't really play for a challenge or for a complex story. You play it to feel something. It's a beautiful, interactive piece of art, a living painting that tells a powerful story without a single word. It's a masterpiece of emotion and visual design. The first thing you'll notice about Gris is the art. It's breathtaking. The whole game looks like it's been painted with watercolors. Everything is fluid and graceful, from the way your character moves to the environments around her. When you start, the world is all in shades of gray, but as you go on your journey, you start bringing color back into the world. You'll be in a world of lonely gray stones, and then you'll unlock a new color like red or green, and suddenly the whole environment just pops with life. It's an incredible visual experience that just makes you feel good. You play as a young girl named Gris who has lost her voice, and she's in a world that is falling apart. As you go on, you gain new abilities that help you navigate this strange, beautiful place. You can transform into a heavy block to break through a floor, or learn to glide through the air as if you have wings. The puzzles aren't super hard, and there aren't any enemies to fight. The game is all about exploration and discovery. It's a very peaceful and calming experience, which is a big part of its charm. The story is told entirely through visuals and music. There is no dialogue, no text to read. You just watch Gris as she makes her way through this world, and you start to understand what's going on. The game is a metaphor for a very personal journey of dealing with grief and sadness. The world in black and white represents a world without emotion, and by bringing back the colors, she is bringing back her own emotions and healing herself. It's a very deep and meaningful story that everyone can relate to in some way. And the music? Wow. The soundtrack is just as beautiful as the art. It's this incredible emotional score that perfectly matches every single scene. When you're in a desolate, empty space, the music is calm and a little bit sad. But when you're doing something amazing or bringing a new color into the world, the music swells and becomes this big, beautiful symphony. The art and music work together perfectly to make every moment feel special and powerful. What remains of Edith Finch? This game is an absolute masterpiece, and it's unlike anything else out there. It's not a puzzle game, and it's not really a fighting game. It's a game about a family, about death, and about the stories that we leave behind. It's so beautiful and so sad at the same time. The whole game is about you, as Edith, returning to your old family home. It's a huge, sprawling, impossibly designed house with secret passages, hidden rooms, and strange little add-ons everywhere. The house itself is a character in the game, a living, breathing part of the story. You have to go inside and find out what happened to every single person in your family, because they all died in weird and tragic ways. The whole family has a curse. To find out what happened, you have to go into each person's bedroom, and you'll find a special item that lets you relive their final moments. And this is where the game's true genius comes in. Every single one of these stories is told in a totally different way. For one family member, you might be a baby swinging back and forth, and for another, you might be an old man remembering his entire life as he slowly dies. In one story, you're a writer whose whole world exists in their imagination, and you have to type out their last thoughts on a typewriter. The gameplay completely changes for every single memory, and it makes you feel what each person felt in their final moments. The atmosphere is just amazing. The house is so full of life, even though everyone is gone. Each room is a time capsule filled with all the stuff and personality of the person who lived there. The art style is so great, with this kind of dreamy, fantastical look to it. It makes you feel like you're inside a storybook. The game is really sad, but it's not depressing. It's more like a bittersweet celebration of life, and how even in death we can have a beautiful story. It's all about how these memories and stories are what remain of a person.